Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of CPL's First Chapter videos. Today we are going to be reading the first chapter of Trouble in Zombietown by Mark Cheverton. It is the first book in the Mystery of Herobrine series, and it's an unofficial Minecrafter's adventure. It follows the plight of Game Knight 999, whose sister was sucked into the world of Minecraft, and he is going to have to fight to try to get her back. Herobrine is the main antagonist, and the first chapter is actually from Herobrine's point of view, so we get to know him and know his motivations a little bit more. And it's a really, really cool book. If you like Minecraft, I'm sure that you will enjoy it. And it has a lot of information on the game, and it's got some hacks for you throughout the plot of the story. So without further ado, let's get into it. Trouble in Zombietown, an unofficial novel. The Mystery of Herobrine, Book 1, A Game Knight 999 Adventure, by Mark Cheverton. Chapter 1, The Villain. He materialized onto the lush green, blocky landscape with a hateful sneer on his blocky face, his whole being filled with a destructive loathing for the natural beauty that surrounded him. Walking toward a nearby sheep, he grinned as the square, fluffy creature bolted away across the blocky hill, a look of terror in its soft, square eyes. An evil presence seemed to emanate from him like the heat from a burning house. Even blades of grass wanted to lean away from this sinister creature. How can these overworlders tolerate this place? The dark creature hissed as he glared at his surroundings. In the distance, he could see a village, this one not fortified like many were these days. It was the normal collection of houses, each made from individual blocks, as all things were in Minecraft, formed from many cubes of wood. The squat structures were clustered around a central stone building that stretched high up into the air, the watchtower. Nearby, he could see the village well and a field of wheat growing in the distance. Lurking in the alleyways between the buildings, he could see the villagers going about their work, their boxy heads and long rectangular bodies almost blending in with the blocky homes. These foolish villagers are oblivious to the danger they're in, the sinister creature thought to himself. He would soon correct their mistake. Closing his glowing white eyes, he teleported away from the scenic view and materialized in a dark, shadowy tunnel. Drawing in a full breath, he let out an abrasive, guttural wail that echoed through the stone passages and rocky chambers, bouncing off lava pools and reflecting from towering waterfalls until it filled the underground world of Minecraft. In an instant, his call was greeted by the sorrowful wails of zombies. "I am coming, my children," he yelled to the darkness. "Prepare a gathering." The wails changed from sounds of despair and sadness to those of surprise and fear. The dark stranger smiled. He could feel their fear. Good. Moving silently through the dark passages, he descended through the tunnels, heading for that secret entrance that only the monsters of the night knew existed. Occasionally, he saw giant spiders and creepers hiding in the shadows, hoping to avoid being seen, but none escaped his glowing eyes. He saw them all, their cowering forms veiled in darkness. Normally, these fearful creatures would have been destroyed, for their fear disgusted him, but he had far more important plans to worry about, and didn't have time for these weaklings. A glow started to fill the tunnel ahead, the soft orange illumination of lava, warm, inviting lava. The shadows behind stone pillars and deep crevices began to grow dark and long as he neared the source of the light. As he turned a corner, he was greeted by a long flow of molten stone that spilled down from high above, forming a broad pool. Nearby, a waterfall gurgled its cool waters from a hole in the wall, the long blue stream flowing into the boiling pool. Where the opposites met, obsidian was formed, the black speckled blocks reflecting the light from the molten stone and casting beams of light through the chamber. This was it. The entrance to Zombietown was always near the meeting of water and lava. Casting his glowing gaze across the jagged stone walls, he instantly saw the pattern that masked the secret door. A flat section of stone with a single block sticking out. Moving to the outlier, he placed his hand against the block and pressed. A click sounded, then the wall swung inward, revealing a long, dark tunnel. Stepping into the passage, the stranger turned and closed the stone door, then sprinted down the rocky corridor. As he ran, he could see the end of the path growing brighter, the walls changing from the stone gray to an inviting orange, like the coming of autumn. More lava. The stranger smiled an eerie smile. He loved lava. It always reminded him of home. When he reached the end of the tunnel, he stopped and looked at his surroundings. Before him stood a massive chamber that stretched upward maybe 20 blocks or more, and at least 100 blocks across. All across the chamber floor were small homes built out of stone and dirt, each a different size and shape. The blocky structures seemed to be competing with each other, the walls pushed against walls in a battle for space that seemed to create a patchwork of geometry that had a strange kind of chaotic beauty to it. Nothing matched. Nothing was the same, and yet every zombie town looked like every other. A large clearing could be seen positioned at the center of the chamber, the encroaching buildings kept away by some kind of mystical force. That was his destination. Taking the blocky steps two at a time, the dark stranger ran down the cavern floor, then sprinted through the maze of narrow streets, turning this way and that in a confused serpentine path that wended its way through the town. At some points he found the walkway blocked by the corners of houses. Drawing his diamond pick, he quickly smashed through the blocks, leaving the damage behind as he streaked for the clearing. In minutes he'd traversed the floor of the cavern and reached the edge of the clearing. Near the edge of the open square, strange green sparks seemed to shoot up into the air like the fireworks for some kind of alien celebration. Zombies stood around these sparkling fountains, just standing beneath them, bathing in their flow, their dark eyes closed in blissful contentment. The stranger knew that these were the HP fountains that zombies depended on for life. They did not eat brains as the foolish users thought. That was a silly myth. Zombies fed by standing within the emerald flow of the HP fountains, the green sparks restoring their health and satiating their hunger. He knew that if a zombie spent too much time away from a zombie town, then they would die. As a result, they were forced to always stay nearby, shackled to their underground existence forever. Zooming past these zombies, the stranger headed for the stone dais that stood at the center of the clearing. Pushing through the crowd of monsters, he saw zombies of every size and age, large, small, the young and the old. He also saw zombie pigmen and the occasional blaze, like visiting from the nether by using the secret portals that connected them. When he reached the steps leading up to the raised platform, he let out another abrasive, guttural wail. This drew everyone's attention. Slowly, he walked up the steps. Another zombie was on the stage, this creature muscular and strong. He was likely the leader of the community, but not for long. The stranger moved to the zombie's side and glared up at him with his glowing eyes. "What is your name?" the dark stranger asked. "This zombie is called Valok," he said in a scratchy, animal-like voice, pointing to himself with a stubby green finger. "Valok is the leader of this town." "Not anymore." The stranger attacked the zombie with a flurry of punches, raining damage down on the zombie. The creature tried to fight back, but his attacker was able to disappear just as the zombie claws were about to touch his skin. The stranger would then reappear behind Valok and attack his exposed back, bringing him to the brink of death. This lasted for only a minute, the stranger attacking, disappearing, reappearing, attacking again, over and over. Valok didn't stand a chance. When only the smallest trickle of health remained, the stranger shoved the zombie off the stage, causing him to fall to the ground. Landing hard, the damage from the fall erased the last of his XP. The creature disappeared, leaving behind pieces of zombie flesh and 3 glowing balls of XP. They drifted to those nearest the victim. All eyes then shifted to the stranger. "I have defeated your leader in combat and now claim this town as my own. This was done as it has always been done, the strong eliminating the weak, as it is written in your laws. You are all my subjects and will do as I command." "What orders are given to the zombies of this town?" said one of the nearest zombies. "What is your name?" "This zombie is called Tazin," he said as he stepped forward, a look of uncertainty and fear in his decaying face. "Tazin, you are now one of my generals. You will lead this town in battle," the stranger said in a loud voice that echoed off the walls of the chamber, making it sound as if there were 100 of him. You are to attack the overworlders and continue to attack until the user that is not a user comes before me on his knees. He paused to let his command sink in, then continued. The first war which was to set us free failed. The idiotic leaders Erebus and Malakota failed me, and their punishment was death. Now I will lead the last battle and show the pathetic NPCs of the overworld what fear really is. The zombies started to murmur to each other, their rotting heads nodding up and down, toothy smiles showing on green, boxy faces. We will attack the villagers until a user that is not a user comes before me and kneels, begging for the lives of these pitiful NPCs. And when he is near death, when the last bit of his health is about to evaporate, his courage will shatter, and this Game Night 999 will take the gateway of light back to the physical world to escape his death. And when he does that, I will ride the gateway with him into the physical world where I will be free to cause havoc and punish mankind for my imprisonment within Minecraft. Then and only then will I be able to free the monsters of the night. The zombies shouted out a guttural cheer that sounded more like a growl than an exclamation, but then grew silent as Tazin stepped forward. The zombie turned to look at the crowd of monsters behind him, bringing all their cold, dead eyes to him, then gazed up at the stranger. This zombie is confused. It can be seen by the clothes being worn that the leader is standing before Zombie Town is a shadowcrafter, one of the ancient ones that can change those that live in the shadows, make improvements to the creatures of the night. But the stranger teleported to the zombie's side and pummeled him with punches, his fists a blur, reducing the monster's HP to nearly zero. But then the attack stopped, just as Tazin fell to one knee. I am not a shadowcrafter, I am the shadowcrafter, the stranger said, his voice filled with rage. I created the shadowcrafters and am the ruler of all creatures of Minecraft. Tazin apologizes, Tazin said with a strained voice. How should the zombies address their new leader? As the zombies knew, all non-monsters were named for their task, their purpose within Minecraft. A shadowcrafter that improved zombies would be called Zombiebrine. One that crafted creepers would be called Creeperbrine. What does the leader craft? I am the crafter of creatures like the failed Erebus and the overzealous Malakota. I create the leaders of armies and the rulers of darkness. I craft evil heroes. His voice echoed off the chamber walls like a hammer to a gong. Now go forth and destroy, and tell the NPCs they will suffer until the cowardly user that is not a user decides to face me. But what is the leader's name? A zombie yelled from the crowd. How should the leader of Zombie Town be addressed? My name. You want to know my name? Tazin nodded his sickly green head. The stranger leaned in close, and his voice was a spine-tingling whisper. You call me as the legends have named me. I am Herobrine.